Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Hey, Bill. Great to talk with you guys, and I apologize for the background noise. I'm in the Atlanta airport, which is the busiest one in the world.
That's all right. We call that Nat sound. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, we like the ambience. It makes it sound like we're all working, so we're good.
That's right. There you go.
So we have been talking to members of our delegation on both sides of the Capitol about another deadline coming. The House has done its work. The Senate can't seem to get off the dime. What are the odds that we're going to have another brief government shutdown in a couple days?
Well, listen, I hope we don't. We're all on the edges of our seats. I think we're going to vote by this afternoon on another CR, a continuing resolution, which I hate. I mean, all of us hate it. We shouldn't run the government on a week-by-week basis, month-by-month basis, and that's what we've been doing for quite some time. But this one is a little different. It would fund the government until March 23rd, but it would include full funding for the military and our community health centers. And those are big, important items for many of us. So that will make it a little bit more palatable for us to push it through the House, and I think we will pass it today. That'll put the ball right in the center court for the Senate, and we'll have to see what they do. I hope they don't shut the government down again over tangential issues, but you just never know with that group.
Congressman, we've got some small military installations here in the 6th, but you have got Barksdale. It is humongous. During that last shutdown, however brief it was, and then the continuing resolution that didn't fully fund defense spending, was there an economic impact in the Shreveport-Bossier area because of that?
I think there is. Not only do we have in the 4th Congressional District Barksdale, but we've got Fort Polk as well. So
that's right,
a giant Army base, a joint training center. So, I mean, these are critical military installations for not only for Louisiana and our economy, but for the whole national security apparatus. So, look, there is a direct impact. When you talk about the prospect of not paying our troops, I mean, they have to continue to go to work, as we all know, they're essential. But they don't get paid in these interim, stopgaps, and that's a real hardship for a lot of families who rely on that. Many of our military servicemen and women live paycheck to paycheck, and when you suspend payment, that's a big deal to a lot of people. And so it's just shameful that it would come to that. It shouldn't, and we hope the Senate will do their job.
Is it frustrating for you? For the House has pretty much been doing its job. Now, I know there have been some partisan problems, but the House has a pretty solid majority. But then when things get over to the Senate, it just bogs right down. How frustrating is that for you and your fellow House members?
Listen, very frustrating. I mean, we all talk about it, complain about it all the time, and there is a solution. This whole idea about filibusters and cloture and all of that. These are recent inventions, as you guys know. I know you've talked about it before. I mean, this is not in the Constitution. I'm a constitutional law attorney, and you go back to the origins of the way the founders intended for this process to work. It shouldn't take 60 votes to pass everything. There is this idea of the majority. That's why elections have consequences. And at some point, we've got to change the rules in the Senate because everything gets bogged down. Very little in the way of big changes get accomplished because of this, almost an excuse that they have in the Senate. And so we're frustrated about it in the House. We're trying to move this reform agenda along. We could be a lot further down the field if we didn't have that big hurdle over there. And at some point, we've got to do something about it.
Congressman, we asked Senator Kennedy point blank why Senator McConnell, who can do this with a stroke of a pen, won't change the rules so we can get something down. And he said because he's worried that there won't be a Republican majority in the future, and whoever is the leader at that time will invoke the same rules. That's kind of a defeatist attitude, don't you think?
Well, not only is it a defeatist attitude, we know the other side's going to do it. I mean, Chuck Schumer said that. I have a New York Times article where he was quoted in the press saying when they thought they were going to have the majority, though, this last time around, they thought Hillary Clinton was going to be the president. They were going to change the rule. I mean, they had already committed to it. And in our side, the Republicans won't for whatever reason. And I just regret that that's the case because right now, when conservatives have control of both houses and the White House, we ought to do what the American people sent us to Washington to do, and this is a big hurdle in that.
Yeah,
so, again, elections have consequences. That's part of the system. Let's keep winning if we want to, to keep the ball moving.
when you're talking about shutting down the government, not paying soldiers, not paying federal employees, that sort of thing, even if it's temporary, I think the nuclear option should be considered, heavily considered, just to get some progress going on.
Well, me too, and there's a growing consensus for that in the House, I can tell you, certainly among conservatives. I mean, in fact, I've had conversations myself with leaders in the Senate, and you have those that agree with us. I think Senator Kennedy is one, and there are others. But at the end of the day, it's the leadership that makes the decision, and for whatever reason, McConnell won't do it, and it's just, it's a frustrating thing for us.